I find it funny too, because everyone's like, do your DNA. There's no other children that have come up.
That is true. I think you didn't you do it before you even found all this out?
No, I was too afraid. I just always like thought, what if he did something super awful? And if I did my DNA, then they'd come knocking on my door looking for him, which I should have realized once his brother was arrested that the DNA's in the system and he would have gotten caught somehow.
Stacey, do you know his Ron or John?
Ron.
So he'd already changed his name. Yeah.
Ron changed his name in 1986.
Yes.
People were asking. They're like, who knows him by John? I was like, I think just his family.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to episode 6. This is Jamie.
And I'm Natalie. And this is Where's John's Daughter?
And we have a special guest with us today. Her name is Stacey. She is my former stepmom, and she came after Diane, okay, sometime in the 90s. And we'll just go from there. Natalie, if you want to start it, or if you want to say hi, Stacey, first.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here.
Yes, definitely very happy to have you. I think, there's a lot of different parts of this, and hearing from different people at different parts is a very helpful way to connect all the dots. Everybody has a very unique but similar perspective in some respects. So what's interesting here is Jamie and Stacey actually hadn't spoken in the last 20 years before this summer. And from what I know, had a bit of a strained relationship throughout all of this, but lots of very interesting findings happened after they talked this summer. Stacey, if we want to just kind of start with where you met John and kind of give your perspective there.
Sure. I was working at a gas station in high school, and he would come in and um, just chat with me. I was not even 18 yet, but and he'd do that. At that point, I didn't ever see the kids. I just developed a friendship with him. And I was, I think, 1 month into being 18, and he asked me to drop off a car with him somewhere. And after I got done with work, I said, sure, I'll help you out. Uh, then we started dating.
Okay. So at this point, you know him as Ron because he had previously already changed his name. So when you guys were together, about how long were you guys together?
1992 through, well, there was off and on between 94 and 95, and then 95 till 98, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Okay. So you guys dated, and then what was it like at the beginning?
Oh, showering with all the attention and all the loves and the love bombing and the perfect amount of attention and um, thought that he was made of unlimited amounts of money. Not that that is a big deal to me, but it was very much like that. Just throw all the money at you and do all the things and take all the trips and always going out to eat. Even though seeing how he lived, he just wasn't good with money. Anytime he got money, he just blew it. But it was very, yeah, he was very attentive. And at this point, though, my family did not know because I knew that the guy was, 16 years older than me and had children, and I'm still in high school. And I knew this wasn't something that they would be keen on. So it was a secret.
Okay. And for some people listening, we've talked about the word love bombing a few times. And just to kind of clarify, the definition is attempts to influence a person by demonstrations of attention and affection. And basically, it's a tactic of some narcissistic traits, and it's kind of a manipulation technique when used in that method. It usually starts off really strong, everything's great, almost too good to be true, and then at some point the mask slips and things are very different than they once seemed. So you're already sucked in, he already got you, he's already shown you all this stuff, and you're like, wow, this is really awesome, this is great. And then at some point, did you start seeing things change and you were like, hmm,
Well, the dynamic was different too because there was children involved, and then when I found out about Jamie's mom, he explained it to me that she was very young and she was glad I took her because she couldn't raise her. So she was just so happy to not have that burden at such a young age. And but some red flags started to go up during that time period because he would call her and he told me he called her, but he would tell me he'd call her and say how happy she was that Jamie was with him. And I'm like, well, let's send her a picture. Like, I'm sure she wants to see what she looks like. And one time he said to me, no, because she'll just slap her face on a milk carton. And I I was like, what that why would she do that if she's so happy that but I'm 18 years old at this point, 19. And yeah, during that time, because of the dynamic with the kids and Jamie especially, things started to change because he would get angry about that or just be over the top about worrying about crazy things and being paranoid because he was living this lie of a life. In my mind at the time, at first when he told me, it was almost like this romantic secret that you knew about, and he explained it to me like they owed somebody $5,000. That's it. I mean, when I was 18 or 19, that was a lot of money. But now I think, so you changed your whole life and kidnapped your daughter for $25,000 that they were running away from?
They meaning, Tracy, Jamie's mom, and
No,
Ron?
no, I'm talking about Diane now at this point. I'm sorry, I'm kind of
Okay.
going all over the place. But
It's okay.
yeah, the progression of, well, the love bombing was always there. He would go into these fits of paranoia and anger, and then the love bombing would come after. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, that's never going to happen again because I would never treat somebody like that. And uh, that was just a one and done, or a 10 and done, or a 20 and done. Yeah, I went all over the place with that and touched on a
No,
lot
it's
of
okay.
subjects,
So
but
I mean, that's what it was like living with him.
yeah,
Is
it
like all
was.
over the place too. So
Yep.
it doesn't
And
make
you never
sense.
knew what it was going to be like when he came home, or you had to play the game.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then at one point you met Jamie and Whitney?
Yeah, I was still in high school when I met them. And I sent you those pictures of that house, Jamie, recently
Yeah.
with that great couch. Um,
That couch was from the St. Petersburg, like, flea market. It was this massive flea market, and it was so great. But, yeah, I remember that couch still to this day.
And just setting the scene, you were in Wisconsin at this time?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where I met him, my hometown. Immediately, I became this babysitter mom. That's what he was looking for, was a person that would take care of the kids. I think Whitney was homesick one day, and I came over on my lunch break from high school and made her something to eat. I think he was there. I don't remember. But yeah, what was your initial question on that? Oh, when I met the kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
interesting because Whitney would have been, like, 5,
Hmm.
and he's not there.
Yeah, I don't remember if he was there. I don't think so because I came home from I came there. That wasn't my home. I went to his house, your house, and made her something for lunch on my high school lunch break.
did he ask you to do that, or you just knew she wasn't feeling well, so you wanted to check
Yeah, I
in?
think that he did. And also, knowing myself, I was probably like, "Why if she's sick, why aren't you there?" Like,
Yeah.
she's had to stay home from kindergarten. You should be there.
Right. A 5-year-old, you definitely can't take care of yourself at 5. So
We learned how to.
That's for
well,
sure, and
you're right.
I remember thinking that, like, wow, it's almost like they can take care of themselves even at that young age. I didn't feel like leaving Whitney there for an hour by herself after I had to go back to school, was a big deal because responsible.
They're used to it. Yeah.
But
That's
how
so
scary
crazy.
for a 5-year-old.
That's the whole thing is like, very controlled situation that he's curated so that everybody kind of knows their roles and you
Yes.
take care of yourself, you're self-sufficient, and then you're kind of on eggshells when he's there because you're like, how's this gonna go today?
I remember one more specific story that, I worked at a gas station on the opposite side of town, and we lived out in the country, and I worked until 11 at night. This must have been during the summer after I graduated. He called me at the gas station. He was off somewhere. I don't know what he was doing. And you girls were gonna be home alone at night, almost the whole night. So I walked from the gas station. You know where I worked. You remember that, Jamie?
Mhm.
To that house at 11 o'clock at night because I had no vehicle. Oh, we had to use my vehicle. Doesn't matter. But I walked, that was probably what, 3 to 4 miles. And when you're in town, there's streetlights, but then probably 2.5 miles of that, it was pitch black in the woods out on the rural roads. But I had to get to the house because the girls were there by themselves overnight.
That
It's
is
it's
so
kind of
wild.
like he's seeing, like, what you will do
Yeah,
for him, like,
for
how far
sure.
you will
Well,
go
but
for
I
him.
wasn't just doing it for him. Like, you're little girls. I was still afraid of the dark at that point.
And to
You know?
expect you to walk in the middle of the night too? Like, how did he expect you to get there? Did he expect you to walk
Yeah,
there?
oh, of course. He was using my vehicle and probably not
Yeah.
doing what he said he was doing, and so I just walked.
Can't imagine how you felt on that walk. Like, you're probably like, "I have to get there," so you're determined,
Yes.
but what do you think was going through your mind other than, "Oh my gosh, this is super scary, like,
I remember
what
it
am I
very
doing?"
well. I was scared. I
Yeah.
was scared, of course.
He definitely seems to have these scenarios where I don't wanna say I guess testing, as you mentioned before. He's testing the scenario. He's putting you in a position to where you have to do something, but you don't really want to, but it's for the girls, so he knows that it'll get done.
Yeah, and it's for to keep the peace sometimes too.
Right, right. You were trying to appease the situation, not to anger him. Is that what you mean? Yeah. So you guys were dating at this point. Did you move in together and then you eventually got married, or how did that all develop?
Yeah, we moved in together. Um, I went over there one evening and, um, he convinced me to spend the night, and so I did and didn't go home, and then the cat was kind of out of the bag for my family, and they said, "Well, if this is what you're choosing, then come and pack a suitcase," and I did. I still wouldn't marry him at that point. I mean, inside, I knew what I was doing was I shouldn't be doing that, and I knew who he was. I don't know why you feel so trapped, and so why I thought so little of myself that I thought that this was okay, and it's not. It wasn't okay, but I stayed anyway.
And as you describe it, he convinced you to stay the night. Usually, if you're dating somebody, you want to stay the night, but why did you use the term he convinced you to stay the night? Is that because you knew then your family would know, or
That and, um, I just didn't want it to go down like that. Like, how horrible. You know, my parents are at home and I just don't come home.
yeah,
How horrible. But that was another way for him to control me too. I found out a lot of things that, of course, I didn't believe them at the time, but if he saw my parents at a gas station or something, one time he actually sought them out and uh, said things like, if you don't leave us alone, I'm going to take her away from here forever and you'll never see her again. And um, said these things in public. And my parents would try to tell me that. And of course, I just blew it off or thought, well, you just don't like him. And so you're saying that. And yeah, it was awful all around. Awful.
He I remember we were supposed to meet you and, like, your mom for
Yes.
breakfast
Hmm.
at that restaurant in town, and
Yeah.
I remember sitting there with Whitney and him, and then he gets a phone call,
Hmm.
and it's you saying, "We're not coming."
Right.
And then he comes back, and he's just like, "Well, they're not coming. Her parents don't like me." they don't like us, and after that, I always thought, her parents want nothing to do with us. They
It
hate
wasn't
us.
it wasn't an us, it was a him.
Yeah.
And it's funny how he never wanted to meet with my dad. It was always just, "Bring your mom." And then one time he wanted me to do it secretly, like, "Hey, mom, let's go out to eat." And then he'd be there. And it was because of manipulation and control. He thought he could control a woman better than a man. I'm sure, why would he want to stand up to a man? He never wanted me to bring my dad.
Did they all eventually ever come face to face? Excuse me, face to face?
They did, but I was never there.
Okay,
Like
that's
in
interesting.
passing in town or in a gas station or, um, yeah, whatever.
Well, and I came face to face with them for the first time ever when I was a senior in high school. I was working out at that bar and grill, and I served them, and I had no idea it was them when I started serving them, and then my high school boyfriend at the time and his parent came in, and then once your parents left, she goes to me, "Do you know who that was? Who that table was?" And I'm like, "No." She's like, "That was Stacy's parents." And I was like, "What?" Because she worked with your parents too, I think, in the
Oh,
factory
yeah.
in town or
I know who you're
whatever.
talking about.
But, I was just like, "Whoa." Like, did they know it was me? Like,
I don't know. I should ask, see if they remember that.
So, your parents not liking him, was that because he had a reputation around town, or you say
Mhm.
you knew who he was? This was a known reputation, or did they not like how you were when you were with him, or how he was when he was with you, or where did these sentiments
The
come
above.
from?
So he had a
Okay.
known reputation because I wasn't the only girlfriend, but wouldn't believe that. Um, and of course, the age gap. I'm a kid, you know? And this guy's got kids that are 10 years younger than me. Um, it was and that was a big deal.
Yeah.
So instantly they were like, "You shouldn't be doing this. What are you thinking?" And then, yeah, quickly he developed a reputation.
And that reputation was he has many girlfriends, or
Mhm.
what was regards to
Yeah.
the he was shady, or
Yes.
what was the reputation regarding? Like, just the women?
Yeah, well, the women and just shady business dealings. And I would always justify the women because he would sell cars or repair cars. So, of course, you're going to deal with people and you call them and you see them and you might see them alone because they come and pick up their car. Um, yeah, I would always justify it. And he always had a good story.
Okay, so at this point, you're in high school, you're dating, you've met the girls, you know, we're going along. So then I guess you're ready to graduate. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I graduated high school and I got, of course, he couldn't come to my graduation party or anything like that. But I got $800 for my graduation. And I told him that, and I was pretty excited about that. And of course, then within the next day or two, he needed $900 for something. And it was the end of the world, which it always was. Things were always this big calamity, a catastrophe. Um, and so I gave him all of my high school graduation money to a 30 something, whatever year old man that worked and should have money. But yeah.
That's the common story that we've heard is that everything is urgent right
Yes.
now. End of the
Mhm.
world. We got to take action. I need your help. I need money. Help me. And then, of course, everybody that has said this is decent human and want to help out. So they do.
or you're, like, forced to,
Yeah.
like and this happened to me in college, but
Oh,
I
so it
remember
didn't feel like you're saying it didn't feel like a choice. It kind of felt like you have to do this.
yeah, you have to drop everything you're doing and do what he says. I mean, I remember this time in college, the one time he ever came down to visit me in college. Well, he wasn't even coming down to visit me. He was coming down for something else. Shady incident with my aunt, which I've come to find out. he comes down with a tow truck, like a flatbed, and doesn't have the proper numbers on the side of the door or something. In Florida, there's different laws, obviously. So he calls me up and he's like, "You need to go to Walmart right now. You need to get me these numbers and these letters. I'm sitting in the parking lot of the hotel and I can't leave. There's a cop there. He's watching me. I can't leave." And it's like, why didn't you put the proper information on your car to start? You just drove from Wisconsin to Florida. Like, but that's just another thing. Like, I gotta go to school. Like, what? Now I gotta drop everything I'm doing and go to Walmart and buy you some numbers because you think some cop's watching you in the parking lot?
Well, that it
Ugh.
just goes back to the paranoia too, because to get those letters and numbers, you have to pay for them. So I'm sure he hadn't registered it in any way, and that's where you get the letters and numbers. Um, so
Right, you don't just go buy them. You don't make
no,
them up. You have to
no,
register, you have to
Mhm.
pay. They
yes,
give you the numbers.
hmm
Yeah,
And
well,
then I
they're
just went and
assigned
had
to
to
you,
buy the little decals, like, in the decal section. I don't
and
even know where.
you can put decals on there, but they issue you the number, and I suppose you can make them as pretty or as whatever you want them to be. But yeah, I'm sure he hadn't paid any of that stuff because he never did.
that's why I was so paranoid. Sure.
Yeah,
So not only did he ask well, he seemed to ask a lot of people for money. Did anybody ever see the money back or it was just
no,
gone?
no.
Yeah.
We're all waiting for the tens of thousands of dollars that would
Wasn't a
follow,
loan, it was a gift. Got it.
plus interest.
Yeah, yeah.
Should I mention that radio money?
Yeah, was there more? More
Well,
money?
when I was in high school, I was 17, and at the mall, I had dropped my name in a box. They drew my name out. They called it on the radio. I was in school, so one of the teachers heard my name on the radio and was like, "You need to call in 10 minutes for a chance to win," And so they called me down to the office and they're like, "Jamie, you got to call the radio station." And I was like, "Okay." And so I did. Since I wasn't 18, I had to bring my parent with me. So I went down to like Link Brothers Ford, where you had to pick a key out of a basket
Mhm.
and it opened up this truck. And so dad gets the winning key that opens up the truck. Well, after that, you have to pick a little bag or an envelope. 99 bags are laid out because that must have been the radio station number. And he picks the bag, and in it, he wins 999, right? Yeah, that's right. And then the big win was 999, something huge like that, right? So we won like $1,000, let's just say. And I took it to the bank to cash it, and he's like, "Oh, you need to give me $750 for your car." And I was like, "Wait, what? Like, we've already had the car. You've already had it. It's been in the garage since summer." Like, wait, now I have to all of a sudden, like, it was just so random. And he got it from a friend too, this car from another dealer. It was just random. And so I just thinking of your story, and I was thought of this story last night, and like, I bet that didn't go towards my car at all. And if we didn't win, I would have never had to give him $750. Like,
And that was
Right.
like money was always king, right? Like his dealings and money, that was always the most important thing
mhm.
in his world.
Wow. How do you feel? Do you feel like you helped him, either of you? Like, when this happens, do you afterwards feel like, "I kinda didn't wanna do that, but, like, he needed it and I helped." Did it feel good? Was it this, like, back and forth of, like, he needed it, I helped, or it
No,
was just what
it was well, especially as our relationship progressed and then when we got married, it was you just did it to calm him down because and you had to. There was no option.
I always felt like it was inconvenient. Like,
what, you were or giving the money was inconvenient?
no, just doing any task for him. It has to be done right now.
Mm.
Call me right away. Call me ASAP. And I need you to go pick up these parts somewhere, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, the urgency.
We carried pagers for a while when they first came out, and
Love it.
one of the you might have to put a little thing in the bottom that explains what those are to younger people. Um, but you would call it and then enter the phone number, you know, and we would have a code like 111111, and that meant urgent. So I was always getting 111111, 111111. And were they urgent? No, I guess in his mind, but I think he just wanted that much control, because then I would find a phone right away and call him, and we didn't have cell phones.
Right. Right. So it was his way of staying connected throughout the day.
Yeah, and control.
So Stacey, after high school, you graduated, and then about how long after that did you guys get married?
2 years.
Okay, 2 years after high school, and was this, like, wedding you planned? Did something you thought of, friends and family?
No. We drove the girls to Florida, uh, which we did every summer. Sometimes they would fly, but I know that we went to Florida a lot. I can remember just being off work for like 4 days when I still worked at the gas station, and we'd go to Florida. And now that I think about it, I don't even remember why. That's a little sketchy, but we'd just stay up, wouldn't sleep. It'd be so exhausting. Um, anyway, we had dropped the girls off and we were in Ocala, Florida, and he pulled up to a courthouse and parked outside. And I didn't really ask any questions. I just thought he had some business or something to do there. And he said, "We're getting married." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Right now, we're getting married. I'm sick of you putting me off and not giving me an answer. So we're getting married." And I said, "No, no, we're not." And in my mind, I'm thinking, my mind is racing. You need a birth certificate to get married. You need all these things. Well, he had my birth certificate with him. And he grabbed my arm and he said, "We're doing this now. You say you love me and you said you would marry me." I said, "I don't want to do it like this. Like, this is not how I want this to happen." I mean, the fear erupted in me because just like he would change, his face would change and the way he treated you would change. And I just really wanted to instantly diffuse the situation. And I thought to myself, you know what? It's just a piece of paper. And could I have ran away to a cell phone, a payphone, and called my parents? Would they have chartered a private jet? Yes, because they would have just wanted me to be out of that situation. But I had to do it myself, of course. And um, I went in the courthouse and we were filling out the paperwork and I started to cry. And there was another couple there. They were probably in their 40s and they were getting a marriage license as well. And the lady sitting next to me, well, she was sitting next to me and we needed witnesses and we asked them to be our witnesses. And she asked me if I was okay. And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." Continue to fill out paperwork. And then when we went up to the counter, and by that point, when you cry and you hyperventilate, you do that. I was crying like that. And you would think the clerk would have been like, "Wow, this young girl is, uh, doesn't look like those are tears of joy."
Yeah, they weren't
And
happy tears.
they were not. Um, and she did look at me. Well, she touched the paper and she looked at me and she said, "Are you okay?" And he's standing right next to me. And I said, "Yeah, I'm just happy." I mean, I'm crying like that.
Yeah.
And signed the paperwork and they brought us into a room and those two witnesses were there and we got married. And I felt a sense of, it's strange, but like relief because, all right, I appeased him. He's going to be happy now. And the rest of the trip will be fine. We just need to get home. But my instant thought was, now I need to plan my exit.
So at the beginning of your quote unquote life together, the start of your life together
Yep.
married,
Yeah.
you were instantly planning your exit.
Yeah. Just
Wow.
because of the whole beginning and how it all was, and, uh, I can't even tell you why I did it, except fear and just wanting to appease him at that moment, and not I also knew at that point kind of what he was capable of, and, yeah, it's a lot of fear.
So the fear, where did that stem from? Was it your day-to-day interactions or was
Mhm.
it explosive
Oh,
or
definitely. Yes, both day-to-day interactions and, um, also just seeing how he could treat his own children sometimes. I'm like, "Why would he why would he do anything better to me?" That would eventually I'll be on that list too, and sometimes I was.
so was there a lot of was it more emotional abuse, emotional manipulation, or did it get physical or,
Mhm.
you know, was it
Um,
always like quick reaction or was there something done to provoke it? I put that
Again,
in quotes
all of the
as
above, I keep saying that, but, uh, he would pull a lot of he would scream a lot and yell a lot and threaten a lot and sometimes throw things at me, shop vacs, stools, whatever have you, and then he would say, "You can't call the police because I didn't touch you." And now I'm looking back like, "What?" And also, me trying to protect him and the girls, I didn't wanna call the police because I knew uh, I'm like, "Where are the girls gonna go? Jamie's mom doesn't want her," and, um, yeah, I just because I was being told that. And of course, then he would say all sorts of bad things about Whitney's mom too, the horrible things. She was doing cocaine and, sleeping with all these guys and all of these things that I came to find out were not true.
Which
Um
sometimes a narcissist will say that about somebody, but they're doing all those
Yes, right.
things.
before I was trying to paint the picture of what the fear was. Obviously, as comfortable as you are with sharing, I know a lot of people have talked about fear, but I I think you and Diane got pretty harsh version of why you would be scared.
Mhm.
So I was trying to
Oh, you were talking about, yeah, the, like, emotional abuse, physical, would something trigger it? Of course,
yeah,
all of those things, and he would, towards the, um towards the probably the last year, um and I say the last year, and people think that it's ridiculous that I would stay that long, but he didn't allow me to work outside of the shop. I tried and tried to work because I'm like, "Well, if we need extra money, let me work." He would not allow me to work. So I had no money, no access to money. And, just to even squirrel away $1,000 took me 2 years, of
yeah,
just, like, going to Walmart and buying something and keeping the change. He said to me within the last probably about the last year we were together, one of the things he said to me was, we were at the shop and something happened and he got mad and he came in the office and this was one time he did put his hands on me, pinned me up against a wall and put my his hands around my neck and he said, "I disappeared once, I can do it again." Meaning that he would kill me because then he would just disappear and nobody would ever find me and nobody would find him.
awful. I mean, I just got chills. I mean, relive I'm sure that's awful to awful thought for you to relive
Well,
over and
and
over
I
again.
believed it at the time.
Mhm.
I really did. But it just got to the point where it was so miserable and he was so mean and I wanted to be dead or be out of there, and I thought, "Well, what's the worst that's gonna happen? Like, I'm gonna leave and he's gonna kill me. I'm still not with him." Um, yeah, that's how I felt. I would rather be dead than stay there any longer.
I feel like I had those feelings too.
Mm, I'm sure.
Just always being grounded to my room,
Mhm.
I mean, I think I was like 12, and I'm like, I just want to suffocate myself with this pillow. And what was the point? I don't know. I just spending a lot of time by myself, stuck in my room, all that kind of stuff, especially like during your formative years, like
And those are things that
100%.
I do look back on and regret because I was reacting based out of fear. And because sometimes those ridiculous punishments, especially when we were in Indiana, where he, yeah, banished us, as you have said, um, I had to, administer, the groundings or whatever. But it was all fear based because if you didn't listen, you were going to get in trouble. And not only would you get in trouble, I would get in trouble. So all of it was all fear based control for
There's
him.
a there's like a time too where I think in a few episodes back, Natalie, you had mentioned, oh, were you ever not allowed to talk to your mom, Diane? And that actually happened once I was living in Indiana, where I'm grounded to my room, but then I'm also grounded where I can't talk to my mom. And it would go on for months, like a couple months at a time. And so Diane's all upset by it, and Stacey's enforcing it. And then there would be the times where we travel back to Wisconsin for the weekend, and I'd have to stay with my dad because you would go stay with your parents. And then he would be like, well, you can call your mom. You can call your mom, you can talk to your mom. So then he's now trying to play good guy, making you be the bad guy, and then we go back to Indiana, and I'm no longer allowed to talk to my mom on the phone anymore. And I remember as an adult, around like 2015, 2016, I brought this up to him, and, like, I brought up you to him. I don't know how it came out. I think it was because of this narcissist that I was dating, and I said, she wouldn't let me talk to my mom on the phone. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know that. I had no idea that was going on."
Yeah. Like,
And I don't
why would
remember.
what would she
I'm
have
sorry,
to
but I don't
gain?
remember that. I don't remember not allowing you to talk to your mom. Um,
Mhm. Oh, yeah, Diane still says it to this day too. She's like, "He wouldn't let me talk to you." It, like,
and I'm sure that
broke
she
her
would listen
heart.
also. She would obey as well because she was even in more of a spot than I was as far as being
Mhm,
controlled and in this fear because of the life changes she made for him as well. She was trapped still after not being with him.
mhm, and being remarried with somebody else, and
Mhm.
I do think she did, like, fight with him on it, and he still, I don't know, wouldn't budge until I was there with him physically, and then he would be like, I mean, he's just trying to pin us all against each other, right? Like, he he wanted me to hate you, and I did hate you, and for the longest time, you were my evil stepmother. Like, I think I understand now more why the things were happening. I mean, you were 10 years older than me. You had no control over your own life, but at the same time, I still think, but, like, you knew all this stuff about me, and you knew how he was and what he was doing behind closed doors to you, or you saw how he treated us, but then I still was like, "Well, why would you still treat me the way you did or enforce the things that you did knowing?"
Yeah, I think, well, he had me convinced that your mom did not want you. He really did. I mean, the milk carton comment kind of got me, uh, but I knew that she was young, and I wouldn't wanna get pregnant at 16 either and have a baby at 17 and really want it, like, maybe that would be my story as well. And he was so much older than her, so I'm like, "Well, of course he's the responsible one," and he told me all these stories about her, how she acted and how she was, and they weren't even sure if you were his or yeah, if you were his, and, um yeah, he even said that about Whitney too, though. So, um, just whatever he could say, the most horrible things he could say about your mom, about Diane, is just what he did to control and manipulate. Um, I remember one time we went to Florida, and there was this woman that you guys Her name was Charlotte, I believe. Do you remember her?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So he would always talk about her, and now I know why. You can imagine. But we stopped at a bank where she worked, and he's like, "I'm gonna go in and see Charlotte." And started to get out of the car, and because I've heard all about this woman for so long, and he wouldn't let me. He wouldn't let me go in. And knowing now that they had a relationship when they were in Florida, when he was married to Diane, and of course she wasn't going to like me, and she was going to probably tell me the truth. I don't even know why he went in there because I know it didn't go well. He came out not a good mood, and he said it didn't go well. And I thought, what? This is just your friend. Why wouldn't it go well? But he didn't question, didn't ask questions.
That is a common theme. You don't
Hmm.
ask questions.
Right.
So what brought on the banishment to Indiana?
Uh, he did some business dealings in Indianapolis with another car dealer down there, and he bought a lot of cars there. And of course, he wants to isolate me from at this point, I have no friends, none. All of my friends are alienated from me. Uh, he couldn't really not allow me to talk to them, but he somehow still made it happen. You know what I mean? Like, uh, you shouldn't talk to her because she just doesn't want us together, and all of these manipulation tactics. And he kept me busy in life, of course, didn't let me work. And then I became Insta mom and also worked for him at the shop and all his dealings and all his little, sometimes kiting checks and shady things. Yeah. And so he did all these business dealings in Indianapolis, but we didn't want to live there. And so we found a house about an hour from there and bought it on a land contract and moved the kids and I there so he could finish up his business dealings in Wisconsin. And how long were we there, Jamie? I don't even know. I can't even remember.
Part of 6th grade and then 7th grade. So, like, a year and a half, 2 years max.
Okay. Um,
And were you guys there without him a lot? Was he back
oh,
and forth?
he didn't live there. No, we were
He was
back and
Oh,
forth.
never there.
He was barely there, but we were back and forth. Sometimes we would go there every weekend. It's like a 10-hour drive nonstop.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, he was there and he was living with Tracy,
In
but
Wisconsin. Okay.
yes. Well, they were
And you
living with,
were in
in
Indiana.
somebody's home, but they were sharing a bedroom, but they had 2 separate beds.
It was her cousins. Yeah, I remember because that was a house that we stayed at one time.
Yeah.
Um, he I would say, like, when he did come to Indiana, it was for work to
Oh,
go to the auction or
definitely.
something, and it was, like, never a good visit.
Mm-mm.
I remember him coming one time, and I had been in trouble again. He came down with Tracy and her cousin to pick up cars, I think, at the auction,
Mhm.
and I just remember him coming into my room, or I was sharing a room at the time with Whitney because they were there, I guess, and he shuts the door and just, like, pulls down my pants and starts beating my ass, and all I can think is, like, I'm screaming bloody murder throughout this house. This house is from the 1800s, so it's very echoey, and they can all hear me downstairs. And I'm like 12 or 13, so, like, the last thing you want your parent to do is to pull down your pants at that age, and then just leaves me there and then goes back downstairs with everyone else.
There were
And
literally no words. He just came in, did that, walked out.
yeah, because
No
I
explanation.
had gotten in trouble for something recently. Not entirely sure what, I don't know what it was, but he wasn't there, and I I couldn't tell you. I mean, I'm already grounded to my room. So, like, I already don't barely have friends anyway either, like,
So
but
you were grounded in your room, but he wasn't there. So Stacey, you were just like, yeah, you have to go to your room after school. And
And
that was
and
that.
she also just knew she had to. Like, we all just
Okay.
knew that we had to do what we were supposed to do. And
Like in case he showed up or something.
yeah, well, yeah, and you just felt like it sounds stupid, but you felt like he just always knew anyway. He always
Mm.
knew stuff. Um, and just to Just reflecting on what you just said, Jamie, I mean, we didn't hear that. That was not something we heard. I'm sure he made sure we were outside because we were outside when that happened, and I know that we've talked about that before.
I've asked Tracy about it. She doesn't remember it. She even asked her cousin, and they both were like, if we would have heard that, we'd have ran upstairs in a
Yeah,
heartbeat for sure.
yeah.
So I mean, you had to have been outside.
Mhm.
Um,
And then just to also address that you were always in trouble, the punishment never fit the crime. It was always this excessive you were not a bad kid. Like any normal kid, I guess. Sometimes you'd smart mouth or you would y I can't even remember, but nothing ever excessive. You were not this horrible kid. Everything was, well, you gotta write 1,000 sentences if you said one smart mouth. Like something it was just excessive. Everything was excessive with him. Um,
and I started to feel too that like him punishing me to my room was like his way of hiding me and not having me be out in the real world. Like so no one could see me, no one could find me, you
oh,
know.
I never thought about it that way, but you're right. Right when yeah. When we went to, enroll you in school in Indiana, they transferred the records down there from Cumberland, and that was your fake birth certificate that was just with white out and typed on. And then they made a copy, so it looked legit, uh,
Oh,
because he took Tracy's name off of there. Then when we
it's
went to
interesting.
leave Indiana, he sent me into the school
I remember this.
to be almost demanding for their records. Like, I want them, and you have to give them to me. So we can we're not sure where we're going to move yet. He gave me all these excuses and all these things to say so I could get those records because he wanted to pull out that fake birth certificate because he knew that in a couple years it was going to be driver's license time and he had to figure that out. I didn't know how he was going to do that through a good attorney or through um, actually using their real ones. He had no idea.
I remember him also talking to one of the schools or whatnot, being like, "Well, they're not even done building the school. They don't even have an administration building for you to send the records because
Yeah.
that's when they built that new middle school."
Hmm.
He was always like that, always getting it for himself in his hands so that
Well,
yeah.
we did get them, and he pulled out those other birth certificates then. So then there was no copy of birth certificates in their file.
Yeah.
So, does the school not say, like, "Wait, what?" Like, I'm just the
I
shit
vaguely
you can get
remember
away
it,
with.
but like they because I
Who
said we're
knows?
not sure where we're moving. It was kind of a like, oh, we're just going to be nomads for a hot minute, and we're not sure where we're going. So why don't you just give them to me? And I'm trying to convince them to give me these files.
I think too, this school because we were going back and forth to Wisconsin so much,
Hmm.
the school called me down to the office one time and was like, "You've missed 28 days. Why are you missing so much school?" And they started to like,
Question
"What's
stuff.
going on here?" They
Mhm.
definitely so, hey, props to Seeger Middle School for, like,
And see, I
seeing
don't
a red
remember
flag.
that, and I don't remember. I wonder if they called him instead. And didn't call me on that.
That's weird that they would even call him. I don't know why they would call him. He was never around,
Right, but he
never
was bio dad, and I was just stepmom babysitter.
and then they gotta call him in Wisconsin, so that's even more
Hmm.
So this
I
is
don't
like the
know.
90s. So I think a lot of questions are other than the immediate people involved, anybody else that was around, like schools, the courthouse, police stations, like why didn't anybody ever do anything? Why didn't? But I think what it's sounding like is that all these checks and balances were like skirted because you could get away with it at that point. Oh, yes, I'm gonna take the copy of the birth certificate. I mean, I feel like everything you need a birth certificate for, you can never provide a copy. You
Yeah,
always have to
no.
have the
Hmm.
original, and then it goes into a system, but at this point, it was, like, on the border of
Yeah,
everything kind of going that direction, so you could still kinda get around it. Because I think now you listen to it and you're like, "That's not possible," but back then, I guess with enough convincing, it was.
yeah, for sure.
So at this point, you, like, know he's changed his name. You know he's altering the birth certificates. So you're still believing that Jamie's biological mom doesn't want anything to do with her?
Yeah, because he told me that the name change was because of money that they owed people.
So
That had
he
nothing to do with you.
put her into that combination too. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
nothing at all to do with you. And the
Got it.
fact that he was still calling her, to me, said that, "Oh, yeah, she must be okay with this," but I'm sure he was calling her and threatening her. Like,
And
"Don't."
that's what I wanted to bring back up. You said he had been in contact. Was this a one-off, a two-off, or did he regularly reach out to
I think
her?
he regularly I noticed on the phone bill because I was fascinated, I was curious too. I'm like,
Sure.
why are we not reaching out to her? Why aren't we at least just sending her photos, like I said, giving her regular updates? And uh, so I would look on a phone bill and I could see, because back then you had to pay for long distance, and I could see when he had called her. Um, I'd say once or twice a year he would call her.
Wow.
I think it
So
was to keep tabs on her
I
too.
think so
Like,
too.
where is she now? Like, is she getting close to us? That sort of
Hmm.
thing.
Is she
Um,
looking? Can I still manipulate and control that situation? And I'm sure he threatened
so
her.
at this point, you're what, maybe 12, 13. So this is 13 years since you have been taken from your birth mom, Tracy. And he's probably called her once or twice a year since then. So I guess if I think a lot of questions are like, was she looking for you? Why couldn't she find you? I'm curious if she kind of felt like, well, he's reaching out, he's keeping me updated, or I don't know, but would you would think that it sounded like he took you and never spoke to her again, like ran away, but he's like dangling this carrot of reaching
Hmm.
out.
and I
Hmm.
don't think it was like a good dangle. I think it was either
Yeah,
like, again, manipulation to keep tabs on where she is, but then also to maybe he's not even telling her shit about me. That's good. Maybe he's saying like, "Oh, she doesn't know anything about you," or
Hmm.
"I've told her all about you and she thinks she doesn't want to see you." You know, like he's manipulating me when I don't even know the story to like
right.
not even want anything to do with her. So then she's like keeping her distance cuz she, you know, there's so many, and then at 13 years, 15, 16 years, you know, I've already have this life and now now she's probably going through the mindset of I- do I want to disrupt her life? Again, she doesn't know if I know about her, and then she doesn't know if I have 0 clue about her. So, I I don't know.
I mean, unfortunately, the two people that have those answers, one you'll never get those answers from, and the other, who knows what answer you'll get.
Yeah, exactly. And then so if we fast forward, we leave Indiana, we go back to Wisconsin, and you're only with us a short while
Hmm.
until you move out.
That's when I was at the point of it's death or I'm leaving, and it might be both. So I plan to leave for a long time, and like I said, it took me. It's funny because when we went through the divorce, which, when you're married to a fake person, do you even really need to get divorced? But I had $1,000. Do you know how long it took? And I didn't work for like 5 years of my life at a job, even though I worked for him at the shop and did all this stuff. I never drew a
But you
paycheck.
never got paid. Okay.
No, no. So on my social security statement, I have all these years of $0. And it took me a long time to even just save up $1,000. One day it got so bad. Oh, I called Diane and I was crying. I had left the shop and I was crying and I was like, I just have to call her because I think he's going to kill me. And she said, he will. She said, you have no idea what he's capable of. And so then she told me this whole slew of stories over the years. I said, why didn't you tell me this stuff? We were friends. We got along fine. She said, I thought that you were the one he really loved. I didn't think he was going to treat you like that. And I said, well, he does and has. Um, I got off the phone with her and it was like, I was just sick. I was sickened by the things she told me. And some of the things that came into focus then about the manipulation with the kids and uh, the truth about a lot about Jamie's mom and just other things that she enlightened me to. And he probably came home a half an hour after that, and I know my face was just white, and I was just had that, that throw up knot in your throat, and I could not even stomach being around him at all after that conversation, especially when she said, "Yeah, you need to be afraid." Shortly after that, I think the next day, I ran to, up to a gas station and grabbed a newspaper, and there was a payphone there, and started going through the apartment ads. Again, could I have just gone to my mom and dad's? I could have. I don't know why. I didn't think I was ever gonna get an "I told you so," but maybe I felt that inside of me. I don't know. They never said that to me, ever. They had to help me after that point, and they never said anything like that to me, but I found an apartment, called the landlord up, and I left and had nothing. Not a bed, even, nothing, and somebody gave me a recliner, and I slept on that, and that's all I had in the whole apartment was just the recliner. That was it. So after I and that was the first couple of days. Of course, then the love bombing is just unbelievable. He's calling me sobbing and saying how I've always been just so faithful to you and I love you, and I know things haven't been good, but can we just try this again? And please, and please, and please. So he's love bombing and love bombing like crazy. So I took advantage of that a little bit. I was like, well, I don't have a bed. I need a bed. So I bought a bed with our joint checking account, but I was afraid to use it. I remember I spent $300 on a bed.
Did you announce you were leaving? Are you like, "I'm out," or did you just get the apartment and he just realized you didn't come home and started well, where would he have to call? You didn't have cell phones.
Right. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Is that like when you said goodbye to us
Yes, I
at the
remember
house?
that.
Okay.
I remember waiting until you got home from school.
Do you remember that day, her saying goodbye?
No, I mean, there was a few times where I think you like, after you said goodbye, I think where I was in my room, shocker, and just kind of on the bed, and we, like, gave each other a hug and stuff, and I don't know, like, it's weird. I remember thinking, like, you don't know what you have until it's gone type of thing, but, like, you did take care of us for a big portion of our lives. You did a lot for us. I mean, we loved you. I also, like, hated you at the same time because that's what he was making happen, right? Um, I just I don't know, there was, like, a lot of emotion there. You think, like, "Oh, you're gonna be so happy," but then you're just, like, back to living with your dad by yourself again, and I don't know, what are you more fearful of, right? Like, this you not having that buffer anymore.
Yeah, that's true. And I did wanna, you said, it's funny you mentioned you had a recliner and a bed. At some point, Jamie, I feel like you told me something like you didn't have a dresser, or were you guys
Oh, I
moving
mean,
around a lot? Like, did you regularly were you in homes that were furnished or not? No.
it was very random, like, when we had furniture, and, like, when we moved back to Wisconsin, we didn't have a couch for the longest time, and then finally we did, and then I think I was sleeping on the floor forever. In Indiana, we didn't have, like, living room furniture, there was a
Mm.
mattress downstairs,
I
and
don't think
then
any of us had dressers in
nobody had
Indiana. We
dressers.
had beds. And
I was
then
gonna say, forget a dresser. Did you were on the floor or you guys had beds?
no, we had beds.
No, like,
Okay.
Whitney's room in Indiana, her mattress was on the floor. And
Mhm.
then I had a raised mattress, Stacey had a raised mattress, and then when we moved back to Wisconsin, again, mattress on the floor. I remember being in sleeping bags at one point, sleeping on sleeping bags on the
Oh, I
floor.
remember that too. Yep.
Mhm. Um, Definitely didn't have a dresser. Again, no living room furniture. Finally got a dresser when I was, like, a senior, and I was, like, graduating and leaving.
So you just had, like, bags of stuff?
Laundry basket.
Yeah.
I think eventually, like, I was old enough to be like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy myself one of these plastic totes," you
Mhm.
know?
We did have closets, not in Indiana, because it was just this old home, but we did have closets in Wisconsin.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, you brought that up and I was like, I remember something about a dresser and then he destroyed it or something.
Yeah, he destroyed it once. I'm in college already. Whitney's in college. He was living in that log cabin house. The story is he like had trouble getting it into the room or something, and so threw a fit and busted it all up and destroyed it and threw it in a pile to burn.
Oh, you weren't living there at the time, though?
Mm-mm.
Okay, okay.
That was long after me, but that brings back memories that he would often do that with things when he'd get angry. And that was just another thing that made you so afraid. We had so many holes that were in walls that I repaired. And then in furniture, when we would get furniture, I remember one time we had this nice little wooden TV stand. And, it was like from Slumberland or something. And at the time, the 90s, early 90s, that was pretty good. And he got mad and kicked it, I think, and it had a big hole in it. It's funny, I just found a photo of some of those things that he did because when I thought that he would kill me and bury me somewhere, I had taken pictures of damage he had done and things, and I had written down places that he said he wanted to move to, which was just where to get me away from everybody and Jamie too. Now knowing what I know, I wrote all that stuff down and I put it in a safety deposit box. That's how much I believed that even if I left, he was going to off me in some way.
So you were, like, putting all this stuff kind of like gathering evidence per se, proof, because how would anybody believe you if you didn't have proof?
Right. Because he seemed to manipulate and fool everyone. I could remember um, when we were kind of on the outs, but I was still going to the shop to do some work. Uh, this one couple was coming in to get one of their Volkswagens restored. So he did that for a while. And this woman, like she had a daughter in college. They were getting it restored for her. So she's old enough to know better. And I'm way younger. I'm probably the same age as her daughter, you know? And she's just like, he's such a great man and he's so wonderful and works so hard. How could you even think of leaving? And I'm like, you're 45 years old. You should know better than this. Like, can't you see how manipulating he is? He's manipulating you right now.
So all those documents that you had in the safety deposit box, you eventually used them.
I called the sheriff's department. Well, I had a friend that was a deputy, and I said, this is the story. I need to get help. Uh, and so he put me in contact with a different deputy, an investigator, who came to my apartment that I had. By that time, I think I had a little couch and a recliner. Um, and I told him the whole story, everything that I knew. And he said, thank you for the information and left. And I kept in contact with him a little bit. And he said, the FBI is going to be calling you because this was a name change and the guy's been on the run for years and they need to get to the bottom of it because they're assuming it's something pretty bad or sketchy. And that's a phone call you wouldn't miss. And after chatting with him again, a couple months later, he said, they looked into it and they have bigger fish to fry. That was his
Yeah, I said
exact
that.
quote. Yes, that was his exact quote. And I said, so you can't do anything? You can't even like charge him with something locally? There's nothing that we can do.
So that's terrifying and heartbreaking all
Hmm.
in the same instance, but you were reaching out for help because what? Because you even though you were getting a divorce, you felt like he still was coming after you
Oh,
or
he told people he
what?
was going to kill me. Yeah.
Okay, so were you divorced completely at that point or you
No.
were still in process? Okay.
So when they told you that there's bigger fish to fry, it was 9/11 time, right? And you guys were still married then?
No, that might have been after. This is a long process
2007? Yeah,
that
okay.
they're doing this investigation. It was a long process. And I didn't know that during that time, he uh, got a lawyer and changed his name back to his original name. He took his old identity back and had it legally changed to Ron. Does that make sense?
It does. So this is what Diane recently did. So they took the fake name and changed it back to the original birth name.
Well, I think it's a little different than what Diane did. What he did was he just reassumed the identity of John, just took that all on, brought it all to his attorney and said, "This is who I am, change my name to Ron." And that's what he
Mhm.
did. So really
Yeah, because he
nobody
has
knew. So I didn't know any of that was happening. And by the time we were in divorce court, he had already changed his name back and changed it to Ron. I didn't know any of that was happening. He didn't know Clare County, so that nobody around here knew that. Um, use somebody's address down there. Some shady person he knew said he lived there and took care of all that stuff there. So it was very now knowing that, and his attorney was just awful to me, saying that there was tens of thousands of dollars that I took, and because he always had money missing, he was just shady with his money, and just awful to me. And that guy knew. He knew the whole story because he helped him. He helped him weasel his way out of his old lying life into a new one. And he was just cruel to me. It was awful. I hated it. And I did that just by myself. I didn't bring any support because, like I said, I didn't have any friends and I was just making new friends. Yeah, it's terrible.
and he was the same guy that helped me get my driver's license too, which I still don't know how
The
that
Well,
lawyer.
happened.
I'm
Like,
glad
I have
that he did that. But
well, no, I mean, not saying that, but whatever they did to get it, because I wasn't a legal person at that time. I wasn't legal
oh,
until
I
I was
think didn't they get
in
your
my
original?
20s.
They got your original birth certificate. They had to have.
And so there's a little story that he had to call my biological mom to get it or something. And again, we don't know how the conversation went. Um, but that was the last time he supposedly ever called her.
Hmm.
And I'm like, what is he probably being like, "Hey, what county was Jamie born in? Because I can't remember." Like, you make up so many lies.
How do you keep him straight?
Hmm.
So, did you you eventually got divorced. Did anything occur during that process other than you just hoping the courts do their job and you get out?
Yeah, like I said, I would just have rather been dead at that point. So I was just
Yeah.
happy to escape. And one of the things that he did in the courtroom, he said, and I don't want her to ever talk to my kids again. He did that to hurt them and to hurt me. That was the whole purpose. But he told you guys, right, that I just didn't want to talk to you. And I leaned over to my attorney and I said, "Well, how can he do that?" And he's like, "Well, he's their dad and you're just a stepmom. You never adopted them. You have no right to them. If he doesn't want you to see them, you better stay away because he'll just get a restraining order and all of this stuff."
And then as far as his reason for never telling me, did you ever say to him, like, "Are you ever gonna tell her? Like, why haven't you told her yet?" Or
Oh, he
why are
was
you keeping
never
this
going
a
to tell
secret
you.
from her?"
No, he was
Yeah.
never going to tell you. And now we know it's because you might go looking for her and she was looking for you.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, he was never going to tell you. Why would I ruin her life? She thinks Diane's her mom. Why would I tell her that?
He would say that?
Well, he would justify why he would never tell her. And I don't remember asking often because you didn't ask. You just didn't ask questions. You didn't question the narrative. You didn't question the way things were, the way that he wanted them.
So after some time you had found Tracy, Jamie's biological mom, is that right?
That was through Facebook. That was several years later. I found her and I knew immediately by the picture.
How did you find her? Just you had the name for the birth certificate, or what made
No,
you kind of
I just started,
start looking?
well, you just start typing in name, I knew her last name. I knew her maiden last name. And I started typing that in. And then um, as the internet got bigger and things were out there, you could do more searches on people. And then I figured out that she was married or had been married. And so her name had changed. And I don't remember what time frame it was, but I remember the day that I found her on Facebook because I had never seen her. I had never seen her other than your dad telling me that you were like her twin. And so when I saw her picture, I was like, "Oh, that's her. Wow." And of course, I called my Tracy right away and said, "Oh my gosh, I found her. What are we gonna do?"
Because at this point, so you got divorced, you have gotten your life back on track, but you haven't spoken to Jamie
Mhm.
still in all this
Right.
time, but you were still thinking about this. It was still on your mind
Oh, I thought
that
about it every day.
we have to we have to tell Jamie.
All the time. Yes. Did
Okay,
think
so
about
that's
that.
kind of
But then Tracy and well, you know her story. She has a lot of fear because of what
yeah,
she's protecting. And I would say, okay, this sounds crazy. I mean, remarried and had children, and I would have nightmares that he would come and say, "That's my child," and he would take my daughter. And she was like 6 or 7, and he would say, "That's my child," and he'd take her. So it's
that is
crazy how long it just affects your life.
And people really can't say anything if they haven't been a part of it.
Right.
You just never know until you're in that situation, and that goes for many situations.
Yes. But there wasn't a day that I didn't think about it or wanna do something about it. But again, you're fearful.
number one, protective of your family now, but also thinking like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine if my child was taken. I would want to know. I would want to know where
Mhm.
she is. I would want Jamie to know. Did you ever consider reaching out to Tracy, Jamie's mom, when
Yes,
you found her?
I did. But I wanted to do it anonymously. So I was gonna create this fake Facebook account and do that. And I mean, Tracy, our current Tracy, her and I hashed that over so many times. Like, how are we gonna do this? I had written several letters. We had anonymous ones written to Jamie, but you were so used to this crazy lifestyle of you don't ask questions. You don't need to know anything about your family.
And I think too, like, being on my own and not having to, like, put up with him 24/7, like, was
You're happy it was over.
yeah, for sure. How about when you found out she passed away? What were your feelings then?
I was on the phone with Tracy and we were just bawling.
Did you find out?
Facebook. I think because, people start writing RIP and you're an angel in heaven now and all these things. And that's how I found out.
And then that's all said and done. Tracy drops the bomb on me. She's telling you, "I just did it. I just did it. Oh my god." And you're probably freaking out too. And then fast forward to last 4th of July, we see each other for the first time in 20 some years. Thoughts or anything or
Yeah, leading up to it, what was that like?
Um, it's crazy. How crazy is this? You know, how full circle is it? And I was so excited. I was so honored, and I was so because I knew the strain that was there and I knew the things you had been told and I knew and I was guilty of allowing some of those things to happen when you were younger. And so I was honored. I still am. I love you and I want the best for you. And that's why I'm doing this again. Even though I don't like telling the story, I don't like talking about it. It's just so long ago. And you think it's this huge error in your life, but here we all are. And I can't look at it that way. I just have to look at it from a different perspective that there is purpose in it and how this terrible thing happened to you, Jamie, and you got ripped away from your mother and but now you're using it for good and hopefully it will help somebody else. It will reach people that I was going to say are in the same situation, which is crazy to be in the same kind of situation. But
oh, there's tons of people in this
there's
situation. I
a-
so many comments on the reels that talk about parental kidnapping, and it's still happening.
and there's people that will be in my situation that
Yeah.
maybe not the same type of thing, but just have that fear and uh, you can get out and and I don't have any fear. anymore. That's all gone. And I don't understand how I ever did, but I did.
Yeah, domestic abuse isn't just physical, it's
Right.
mental, it's sexual, it's
Mhm.
isolation, and, that was, like, one of the issues we had with finding a lawyer for my mom and the name changes. They just didn't believe the domestic abuse is, like, so deep and how far it
Mhm.
goes. It's mind-blowing. I'm glad we saw each other. It was emotional, it was great. I'm happy that you're here, I'm happy that you're in my life. You're definitely someone I can reach out to, turn to for important questions. You know a lot. You're a very smart woman. So, I mean, he, whatever he did to you in the past, you have so come far and beyond and turned out to be amazing and so much smarter, so much brighter than he ever will be. You know what I mean?
Well,
If that
yeah,
Thank
makes
you
and
so
sense.
look at you. You had to grow up in it. And
Yeah.
you're
So
amazing. And I think
pr-
that about I mean, our whole the circle of women that are involved in this right now, there's all these other women too, but we are all these driven women that want to succeed and do well, and we don't blame other people for our problems. And
mhm.
I think that's amazing.
We take care of our shit on our own. Like,
a lot of
it's
commonalities between everybody involved.
it took a lot for me to even kinda come to terms with the word kidnapping. I still sometimes am not fully okay saying it because I never wanna come off as a victim because I always did take care of myself, but when I ask people that knew about me, that I'm just meeting along this journey, they all use that word. They
Mhm.
all use the word kidnap. So, I'm like, "Okay, if everyone is using it, it's okay to use," and it's just the same with, like, abuse, domestic abuse. Like, I am a survivor of domestic violence, and it's okay to use because everyone else is using it in my story as well. So, I don't
Kind
know.
of validates, like, hearing other people. I mean, it stinks that it takes an external kind of source, but I can imagine it kind of validates your experience and, like, yeah, that's what I felt. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
But
that
but
happened.
that doesn't define who we are.
Not at all. Not
It's
at
helped
all.
us it's shaped us into who we are, which I love.
Yeah.
So,
It was like a springboard for your healing.
but I'm not a victim of that at all.
Yeah. Yeah, he certainly didn't take anyone's spirit, and the fact that everybody can come together probably draws strength from that.
Mhm.
I know it has been mentioned that you wrote, well, you also mentioned that you wrote letters, but to Jamie along the way, wanting to reach out to her and leading up to this um meeting. I think Tracy was encouraging, like, you really, really should talk to Stacey, really should talk to her, and maybe a bit apprehensive, but then being able to, like, all come together, it just kind of everything subsided after that.
Yeah, and it felt so natural and it was fun. That was a great I loved that, being together and,
It
um,
did feel natural. I
yeah.
don't feel like it was like there was a skip in the beat at all.
Yeah,
Like,
me
yeah.
neither.
As a fly on the wall, you would have never known there was 20 years and strain between the 2 of you. It did not come across that way at all.
Well, thank you, Stacey, for joining us again for the
Yeah,
second time. We
yeah,
appreciate it.
my pleasure.
Anything else, Natalie, that you
Just
wanted to say?
I think everyone's really brave for coming and telling their story, and putting the pieces together with Jamie along this journey. It takes a lot to do that, and I know everybody's come a really long way. So it's just really amazing. I'm proud of all of you and happy to be along for the ride. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below where you've seen this, and we're putting a Q&A together to hopefully fill in any blanks. There's a lot of moving parts and pieces, so we're going to try to clarify some
Yep.
things.
We totally love the support. Just continue to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, your family, or somebody you know that's in the same or has experienced the same situation. But yeah, thank you.
Until next time, cheers.
Bye.